So what I really want to start off with in this conversation is, do we have even a definition of our soul that we can all agree upon?
No, it is one of the greatest mysteries there is. I mean, from Plato to all of the great mystics through the ages, scientists, theologians, it really crosses all different industries. And it is the greatest mystery there is. And so I think I've always been really into the mysteries. But the older I get, the more I'm convinced that the soul is not separate to nature. You know, we see the soul as like this kind of mysterious thing that's like not in our body. But actually, it's when we take our first breath that I believe the soul enters. And then we release that last breath, these gates of life, which I know you and I have spoken quite a bit about on Voxer, where, you know, one moment there is life, the next moment there is not. Like that mystery captivates me so much. And I really, really believe that the soul is connected to this intelligent pulse of life, that same intelligence that tells the flowers when to open and close, the seasons when to come and go, us to grow in the waters of our mother's womb, our monthly cycle, if we have one, when we have one, and then it stops. Like there is this great mystery that is as physical as it is ineffable. And
I love that.
And it completely captivates me, this great mystery.
As it does me. And like we will go into this, that, you know, I've had a near-death experience, and I feel like in that experience, I started to really understand the mysteries of life and really see that there was more than what we are seeing in our everyday reality. And when it comes to the soul, I have asked myself multiple times throughout my life, but especially after my near death, which is, what's the soul's purpose? So do you feel like every soul comes in with a purpose? And does that purpose change throughout your lifetime?
Yeah. Yes and yes. I believe that all souls come here for a reason, and some souls come here for multiple reasons. I have had regression and lifetime before lifetime experiences myself, where I actually experienced receiving my purpose for being here. And it's different from like this way that we use purpose, as in like, there's this one question where there's this one answer to what my purpose is. Like for you, it's like to be this mega amazing leader, author. Like it's that, once you become an author, you've done your purpose. No. It's much more than that. But I believe that many of us have our individual purpose, as in our souls come here to grow and learn and experience things on a personal level or a personal soul level. But I do believe, particularly now, I think that we come here in teams, in waves. And many of us are here as part of a collective purpose. And what I see happening over and over again for those of us who resonate with that concept, like I know that I'm here, not just for me, I want to be part of this rebirth for, I would say, humanity, not the earth, because the earth is just as good enough on her own. It's us that needs the waking up. Yeah. But I think those of us who feel that call for that greater purpose, particularly these times where there's so much happening, it can feel so overwhelming, because the way that we have all been raised, because of the time that we chose to come into, separation is so evident here, and individualism. And so it's as if like, oh, I have this collective purpose, but it's like, no. And what I believe I've been receiving over and over again, particularly these past like 5 years where things have really heated up, where it's like we all hold a thread for the healing and rebirth of humanity. Trust the one that you're holding. So it's not like this great big thing that we have to take the responsibility on individually. It's this beautiful reweaving that is happening.
It's interesting because I'm deep in research and writing my next book, and one of the questions that I've asked myself over and over again is, what is the purpose of menopause? Because it seems to me that there has to be something transformative, purposeful about the fact that as humans, we live 42.5% of our life as women in our post-reproductive years. And that I don't think is by mistake. And so I've been on this quest literally for I'm 55 years old. So for the last decade, I've been just like, why does the reproductive system shut down? And then there's this new evolution of a woman that emerges. And I've been really looking at that lens and then coming over and looking at how, as women, we are conditioned in this world. And there's some really interesting information from a feminist philosopher who talks about how women are really taught to be selfless in this world. If you want to be a good girl, you give to others. And the reason I bring it up in this context of this discussion is I feel like the reality of this world constantly pulls us away from our soul's full expression. And I feel like menopause is the moment we can pull back and start to really look at ourselves. We have time, we have mental energy, physical energy, and we can really go into a new expression of ourselves, and maybe the truest expression of ourselves. So in that context, how do you know your soul's desire? How do you know your soul is speaking to you? Like, are there ways? Is it a hunch in your body? Is it you light up when you do something? Like, there's an energy that we're not always pulsed into that I feel like you do such a great job of putting words to, that if we could have some tangible context behind, this is your soul screaming at you, this is your soul wanting you to fully break free, what would that language be?
I love it. So first of all, the best way to have a relationship with your soul is to spend time with it. Think of it like a new friend that you've just met. You're not going to be able to recognize their voice in a busy room at a party or whatever, or unless you hear it over and over again. So you start by giving yourself that time, which I think is interesting with the menopausal and perimenopausal, where that self-sacrificing begins to become harder to hold on to, right? There are many different ways our soul speaks to us. I think at first the soul is subtle. It's not like it's this big, big, loud voice, but through our body, we can hear it as well. So we have senses, which are like inner senses, right? Which are the same as our other senses, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. So that's clear seeing, clear hearing, clear feeling, clear knowing. But it's all through the body that we experience it. Most people see the soul and intuition as this wishy-washy woo-woo thing, but it's not. It really is not. It is so physical. It's just sometimes subtle. And the more we get to develop a relationship with it, the more in touch with our body's senses we become, particularly as women. It's it's the senses, sensual nature. And so many of us have been cut off from it. But here's the thing, and I think this really happens. I think this happens in postpartum. I think it happens with a monthly cycle, and it certainly happens in perimenopause and menopause, where this sacred rage starts coming up.
Yes.
And I think we don't understand how sacred that is, how holy that is. This is like the mama bear, the grandmother bear coming in to say, no, this way, not that way. And so it doesn't have to be, and of course, the soul also speaks through what brings you joy, what lights you up. This concept of, say, light worker, which I think some people understand, some people aren't, but it's essentially being of service. You don't have to overthink it so much of like, how can I do things that, again, that's putting it on yourself. No, if you follow what lights you up, you will light up the world without even trying. And so, but it's the sense, through the senses that we receive our intuition, which I call the voice of the soul.